Let's welcome on stage for a keynote speech the CEO of Multiverse X, Benjamin Minku.
Hello Dubai. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm Benjamin Minku, co-founder and CEO of Multiverse X. And we've built a great number of products and things. And I think the current moment, the moment where the market is, the moment where the adoption is very fascinating. So maybe before jumping in the presentation, I have 2-3 questions that I'm curious to hear some thoughts on maybe some hands raised to. First of all, who here believes that in the next 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months, Bitcoin will exceed $100,000 in price? If you can raise a hand, if you believe that. Okay, interesting. Now, second question. Who here believes that perhaps during the next 3, 5, or 10 years, there's a probability, high likelihood, that a different blockchain, a new chain, much more scalable or much more effective in adoption, could overtake or exceed Bitcoin in adoption? Curious if you can raise a hand. Very interesting. Now, something a bit more exotic. Who here believes that there's a very small likelihood, but still a possibility that a meme coin could at some point become the currency of a country, as Musk would say? Anyone? Okay, very interesting. So there are a few people that still believe in meme coins. That's really good. Now, the subject of this conversation, of this presentation, will be very different. Very different in terms of ambition, substance, and what we're trying to achieve. So let me frame that from the beginning, and as we'll advance, you'll discover what we're meaning with that. To begin, the key thing to understand is that Multiverse X is, at this point, ready for interplanetary scale deployment. What do I mean by that? What does that even mean? Interplanetary scale deployment would mean interplanetary money, interplanetary value exchange, and a system that would interconnect several planets. So I would grant that this is ambitious and crazy, but let's explore what the entire point is. Why do people even care about blockchains? Why are blockchains relevant and important and perhaps crucial for society? And the key point here is that blockchains are a stepping stone for humanity. That in the current digital and information age, they enable unprecedented levels of collaboration, coordination, and they scale truth, they scale trust, and they scale value exchange, unlike any other system that we have in the world today. So what we've done with Multiverse X up until this point is we've built perhaps the most scalable architecture in the world. We've used to frame it as the internet scale blockchain architecture, but the key points to have in mind is the architecture scales beyond 100,000 transactions per second. It's run by 3,200 geographically distributed validator nodes around the world. We have already processed 400 million transactions with this network, and we have more than 3,000 applications already deployed on the main chain. Everything is live, it's open source, and used by many, many people in the world. The question for the current moment, I believe, is how do we take this to the next level? How do we take blockchains outside of just the crypto niche and take it into the mainstream? And I believe there are a few new categories within a new category cluster that with Multiverse X we're going to tackle. The first one is the idea of a truth machine. And the key idea with the truth machine is precisely this, that with the rapid advancements of AI technologies, we are already beyond the point where through mere senses, we can tell what's true, what's authentic, and what's real. We have just not assimilated this fact yet, because whatever you do, there is already a danger, there is already a risk that when you receive an image, when you see a video, when you see a message or a document, this all has been counterfeited. So having blockchains anchor truth within the world will probably be one of the most important things that blockchains will do for humanity and for society. A second category that will be enormous will be the idea of a global autonomous transaction network. And the key point here is that everything we've seen done for payments, for financial systems, and for transactions is just going to scale tremendously during the next period. Not only because adoption of the internet scales, and there's still 1.8 billion people that don't have access, and once they get access, they will be actors within this new economy. But we're creating new products and new tools with which we're doing more and more transactions that are not yet happening on the internet. Perhaps the most interesting and fascinating point that I believe we'll see by the end of this year is the emergence of autonomous AI agents, which are essentially assistants with full context of what you're trying to do, with full specialization in different fields that can make and take actions in an autonomous way to achieve a certain goal for you. Now, for those agents, the most important part is to have a transaction layer, a transaction network to which they can connect, where you can have transparency, when you can view everything that they're doing, and where they can become almost, in a way, the Uber cars that create revenue for people, where the global autonomous transaction platform is essentially the Uber platform for this new type of economy. Now, the most sci-fi category is the idea of an archipelago of network states. And the very simple and key point of what network states means is we have reached a point where if you look at this planet, all the land is taken. You cannot create new countries without fighting someone and taking their land. So the question is, how can we create a framework within which people, the most ambitious people in the world, can create new countries without having to fight with someone? And this idea that supersedes nation states is called network states. The key point being that you can create new groups of people with super sharp focus on different fields where the countries are cloud first and only secondary linked to physical locations. The point being that these new clusters open up completely new markets and completely new categories. So how do we make this happen? And the most important point for us is sovereign chains. Sovereign chains is the most important module that we're unveiling that takes all the great things that we've built on Multiverse X as a network and shares them with other parties, whether it's startups, whether it's other crypto ecosystem or blockchain ecosystems, or enterprises and governments, and gives them the power to frame and customize these tools. So what do I mean by this? Well, there's three types of categories within the directions that we can use sovereign chains with. Sovereign chains for apps are just applications that take this module, that have their own chain with full customizability, with full token incentives, with a great ecosystem of tools that we've already built in Multiverse X, and that enable this application to have not only privacy and the flexibility of designing their own rules, but then the benefit of leveraging everything that has been built in terms of standards and adoption. So I do believe that applications will have, whether they're crypto native or whether they're new type of applications that just want a space of their own where they can design their own rules. I do believe this will be a very, very exciting direction to explore sovereign chains in. A second direction is the idea of sovereign chains as layer 2s to other chains. And here sovereign chains become this meta network, connecting other networks and sharing with them the great benefits of scalability, the great benefits of adoption, the great benefits of composability that can emerge when we connect these bridges together, and where we cross the chasm and stop fighting with maybe this other ecosystem and make sure that they can leverage the best tools that exist in the world for whatever they're trying to build. Moving one step further, there's also the idea that I mentioned of sovereign chains for governments and enterprises. And I think whether we think about the blockchain space and the crypto space with everything that's happening within the Multiverse X ecosystem, or we think about the big ecosystems out there, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so forth, that we're going to interconnect with. The idea of getting outside and offering these tools to the biggest enterprises of the world, governments and nonprofits, is even more interesting because it helps us cross this bridge and make sure that this space expands tremendously. Now, this is in just one lens how sovereign chains will connect with everything. Not only the Multiverse X ecosystem, but then the other broader ecosystems, and then perhaps governments, enterprises, and other very large players, that each of them have connectivity, have interoperability, have scalability, have privacy, but then they have also their space to customize their own experience with whatever they're trying to create. So the biggest and most exciting thing around sovereign chains is we've created this massive main chain that is the Multiverse X network that is already used around the world. And then we're about to expand hundreds and thousands of new chains that will exist on this module of sovereign chain. So the question is, how do we interconnect them? What mechanism brings them all together, aligns them, and enables this massive expansion and growth? Well, this module we're calling the gravity layer. And you may have heard about restaking that's taking hold of the entire Ethereum ecosystem with EigenLayer and other projects that are offering this module within Ethereum. Well, Gravity will be the layer that gives much more leverage to everyone that secures the Multiverse X architecture, gives much more incentive and yield to stake and secure all the new main chains, all the new sovereign chains that are coming out, and then enables the builders, enables the developers to come in and have a very special focus, to have a very special discussion with this middle layer that will anchor and create a gravity layer for the expansion that is coming out. Now, in addition to this, sovereign chains are coming fully with a demo that we're going to unveil on the 23rd of May, and we're tremendously excited about that. We've been building this for years now. A lot of conversations have been happening, design conversations, research conversation, architecture conversation, And we're very, very excited about all these things coming together. Now, maybe zooming out a bit and coming back to the point that I was sharing at the start. You might know this guy called Nikolai Kardashev, which did a very, very fascinating thought experiment. He reasoned that if an alien civilization would look at civilizations, they would have to establish a scale by which they are measuring what has been done and what are the most important tipping points for the types of civilizations that would become gradually more, let's say, rich, gradually more valuable, gradually more expansive and more dangerous. And he essentially designed this threshold where type 1 civilizations are the civilizations that harness the energy of their own planet. Type 2 civilizations are the civilizations that harness the energy of their solar system. Type 3 civilizations are the civilizations that harness the energy of their galaxy, and so forth. I do think that blockchains, as they exist right now with what we've built, enable something extraordinary that will be a module that enables Kardashev scale technology and Kardashev scale at least level 1 tipping point. So the idea is that sovereign chains enable this type of module through which on any other planet or any other zone you can bootstrap a new economy, you can bootstrap new economic tools and can interconnect them to a general global interplanetary financial system through which you have both the bandwidth, necessary bandwidth, the network layer, the tools, and the space to create your own rules as you bootstrap this new financial system. So I'm super excited by everything we've built, and I think this is by far the most important time to be alive, to build, and to expand this ecosystem, not only on Earth, but even beyond. Thank you very much.